Okay, Mr. Jagannadham Thunuguntla, Head of Research with Centrum Broking for the Wealth Division, joins us now. Mr. Thunuguntla, thank you for joining in on ET Now on this Sunday afternoon. I think the key contentious point is Panaya and its future. In fact, it was a major bone of contention for corporate governance battle as well between Vishal Sikka and the founders. There are no takers for Panaya or for Skava. And the fact is that Infosys has had a couple of write-downs as well on these assets. Would you be a little worried about these assets continuing to stay with Infosys?
Infosys has been a class act in terms of corporate governance right from its inception. Of course, Panaya acquisition had created a bit of anxiety, but we believe it's a matter of time, part of the process. I think investors have moved on in terms of looking at the broader picture and looking at the greater digital opportunities. I think Panaya, while it had created a bit of anxiety, say 6 quarters back or 8 quarters back, but ever since the new management, shareholders and investor community has been focusing on the new opportunities and also on the buyback and dividend. I think investors are relatively happy betting on IT and Infosys, keeping the broader picture into account. Considering high beta names are any which way have not that doing great in the capital market, I'm sure Infosys will get its due share of investor interest in the capital market.
Right, all these high beta names and all these highly leveraged companies have certainly been beaten out of shape by the markets, and Infosys, and in that sense, does provide a spot of relief for investors. Mr. Thunuguntla, I also want to address the visa issue with you. It is something that was, alluded to by Mr. Nilekani and his team as well. They did say that they have amped up their hiring in the United States. Do you believe this could be a bit of a problematic issue going forward, or do you think it's still early days? Because that bill, the very controversial bill, has still not been passed by the Congress. But do you think that will continue to remain an overhang for all of these IT companies, not just Infosys, but all of them for that matter?
I'm sure, considering U.S. elections are in November 2020, about 16 months away, I'm sure the rhetoric from U.S. administration, especially Donald Trump, will increase in terms of visa issue, because he wants to keep the visa as well as pharma sector issues alive to play to his gallery of electorate. That's understandable, but I'm sure investor community is matured enough to understand that while these can create a bit of hiccups and bit of headwinds in the short term, but long-term opportunity is very well intact. I'm sure these companies are matured enough and savvy enough to navigate these global challenges. As the opportunity is so large, few hiccups should not disturb the apple cart. And moreover, interestingly, be it Infosys or many companies, have not been trading at super high valuations. The valuations have been reasonable, giving that extra bit of comfort despite there are headwinds.
It was a very interesting statement by Mr. Nilekani, where he did say their clients are operating in an increasingly complex environment. So while Infosys and TCS and all will be doing their bit, they are saying that they are on the right growth path. But do you believe that, with clients cutting their budgets and, with IT budgets as well being cut, and, with big companies like Cognizant, etc., cutting down their revenue guidance for the next year, do you believe we are going to be on that path of growth moderation for some time for these IT companies?
The investor community has been any which way not playing the IT sector as a growth theme anymore. It was the case for previous 2 decades, but over the last 3-4 years, it is quite evident that Infosys or be it IT sector, no more a growth theme. It's more of a stable theme wherein the industry is sort of saturated, and investors are very much comfortable with the fact that the growth is not the theme, but it's more of valuation comfort and high cash-rich groups. And all the companies are sitting on so much cash that they can reward the shareholders in the form of special dividends and buybacks. So investors do take cognizance of the fact that the super growth that these companies had witnessed for 2 decades was behind us, and even though it's a stable theme, but investors are quite comfortable even that.
No longer a growth story, but perhaps more from a stability and safe haven sort of a story is what now investors are looking at when it comes to these IT companies. Mr. Thunuguntla, thank you for joining in. So yes, he does say that investors have moved on from the entire Panaya issue. Yes, it created quite a bit of noise back about a year and a half ago, especially when Vishal Sikka moved on. So yes, that was of course from the